Larry and Bryce, it is so nice to meet you guys finally. Welcome to the Retail Whore Podcast.
Thank you, Michelle. It's nice to be here. Appreciate your invitation.
Stoked to be here.
Thank you.
A little bit of background is we had Leilani from Botanic and Lux on a few weeks ago. She talked about this amazing app, Open to Buy, and lo and behold, it is you two. So I'm so glad that you guys took me up on the offer so you can tell people more about it, because I get on my soapbox all the time and I talk about like how numbers are so important. And I can tell you right now, there's probably a handful of people that I know that actually use Open to Buy people. And it's like, if I think a lot of people, to be honest, are afraid they're going to be told you can't have your Starbucks anymore. They're afraid they're going to be told something they don't. And honestly, like what you do is actually strengthen the business and actually make it profitable. So before we get into that, why not to each of you introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit of a background about yourselves.
My name is Larry Hebert. I grew up in the Sacramento area and relocated to Santa Cruz in '75. My first job was as a professional baseball player when I was 19 years old.
Wow.
Well, yeah, it's not a big deal. It's just that I graduated from school, I played baseball. And then got into the golf business as a golf professional, and that's where my retail experience started. So I ran golf shops and then eventually opened up 4 stores in Capitola, Pacific Grove, Sacramento, and Stockton. They were athletic footwear and apparel stores called Body and Soul, SOLE, and had those for 7 years and sold them. And then kind of gravitated into becoming the national sales manager, regional sales manager for Reebok. And then got my MBA at Pepperdine, and then ran their MBA program in Northern California for 18 years, retired in 2012, and started full-time consulting. And that's where I met Bryce. And that's where we started working together. That's really for the SBDC.
There's so much I want to unpack there about the pro foot baseball, but I'm not going to do that right now. But you just completely blew my head off my shoulders.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
Bryce.
Most definitely. Awesome to be here. And a little bit about me. I'm a marketing strategist by trade and have a very diverse past. Graduate degree in sports business, which I specialize in sports marketing, and ranging from getting out of my undergrad and being a professional cycling coach and running my own business with a good friend of mine, to that of like traveling Western Europe as a professional sports team manager, and then gravitating towards working at a global ad agency and sports marketing agency, working for top at the time, kind of ranges by day, but the nation's top 3 shopping mall owner, and then all sorts of diverse jobs in the past, all that melded together.
Wow.
Yeah, really diverse marketing umbrella kind of skill set. And so what I do is help small businesses for the last, 8 years, and ranging from your local shoe store to ice cream store to B2B, you name it, I've helped them. And because I'm a practitioner, I'm still living and breathing all things social media, but I like a diverse kind of mix of old school and new school marketing. So I put all the puzzle pieces together to make marketing easy for the little guys and girls out there that are running small businesses. And just so happens I started working with this guy through the SBDC, Small Business Development Center. And we've been helping tons and tons of businesses, many of them retailers, over the last few years.
A good majority of them retail.
Yeah.
Did you guys do because I had never heard about the small business development, how it has all these free services, and we did a link to that in the last show, and we'll have another link on here because it's fascinating to me. I mean, my background, I've been in retail since I was 14. I had stores at Fred Siegel in Santa Monica for years. I lost them after the earthquake. I really probably could have used an SBA person to help me along that time because I ended up going through a bankruptcy. But it's, I think about like how many people could use this tool. It's so is it a volunteer job? Are you like on, because you obviously have your professions. Is it something is like a side job? Like how does that work?
Yeah, so there, I'll talk about Santa Cruz because we're both in Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz, if you look at the advisors they have and their backgrounds, it's unbelievable. So a lot of these are so highly professional, they're in retirement or semi-retirement. So Bryce and I have our own private consulting practices, but we also we love being a part of the Small Business Development Center because we contribute to our community. So we're able to engage with businesses who maybe couldn't afford an advisor at 100, 200, $300 an hour,
Yeah.
right? And so it's a free service they just have to sign up for it. It's a free service to anybody that applies, and then they'll assign that person that business to whatever they need. If they're looking for marketing, they'll assign them to Bryce. And then if Bryce and talking to them sees they may have a financial issue or operations issue, then he'll introduce me to them, and we have marketing, finance, social media, QuickBooks, HR.
Oh my God.
We
I
have
can't
all that.
believe
It's,
this
all
seems like
free.
this
Yeah.
seems like
it's
this
really in-depth help too. It's not
In-depth
just
help.
secret.
glossing over stuff.
It
It's-
really seems like this secret weapon that nobody, I mean, I honest to God feel like so naive when I say, like, I literally never heard about this. And I had a ton of people reach out on DMs and being like, what is this service? Like, clearly I'm not the only one that hasn't heard about it.
And we're fortunate Santa Cruz. So Brandon Napoli is our executive director. He's just a fabulous individual. And he started so many different programs. We have one called now Clicks to Bricks, which is they go through a 12-week indoctrination of all these different disciplines, help them start their business, and then we'll go in and individuals. And I did a finance seminar last week on it for 2.5 hours. And they've had them in marketing, they have it all along the way. So they have just full room. It's like getting an MBA. So I went to the MBA, took me 20 months. They're getting it in 12 weeks, right? So they're going through this in 12 weeks.
And this is all free.
It's all free. So and Santa Cruz is considered one of the top, if just not in California, the nation. We always blow through our goals we give because all of us, I'm sure everybody that's doing this is all dedicated. We're really dedicated people who work here. We care about our community. We want people to be successful. And Brandon just makes sure that we can succeed. So like, I knew you had Leilani from Botanic and Lux on a couple of weeks ago. I've been working with them for 6 years. So before they opened the store, I started working with them and all the stuff we'll talk about and other things. And I've got other ones. Those I worked for 5 or 6 years. Bryce is the same thing. So it isn't like you go in there for a couple of weeks and you're out. They'll say as long as you're helping them and they're doing well, keep going and doing it. So sponsored by the SBA. We get grants from like Wells Fargo Bank, from Downtown Association of Santa Cruz, these different things, because they want businesses to succeed in Santa Cruz.
Now, is Santa Cruz the only one that has this program, or is this all cities have some
It's
type
nationwide.
of program?
It's nationwide.
Yeah, just about every county
Every
just
county.
about has one.
Yeah.
There's about 1,000 across America.
Yeah.
Like I'm part of the East Bay of the Bay Area in San Mateo County, as well as Monterey County.
Yeah.
So it's pretty.
I know that's not what we're supposed to be talking about, but I'm like fascinating at this.
Stellar
Yeah.
resource.
And so down in Southern California, you may have 10 or 12 down there.
I feel like I need one.
Yeah. But you can look up SBDC in Southern California. They'll probably list all the ones available, and then whatever county you're in. So like we can't help people in San Jose because they're in Santa Clara County. We have people that are in Santa Cruz County because they have their own. They have Silicon Valley SBDC. So you stay within your county. So wherever, if you're in LA County or I don't know what county you're in, you just check that county. Look for SBDC.
I think I'm LA County.
Yeah.
They help stores get grants and whatnot, like female entrepreneurs get grants, like they help you walk you through the paperwork and
Everything from like lease renegotiation to get funding, HR, hiring, like everything but legal.
Yeah.
Can't give legal advice, but
we don't do taxes. And when the pandemic came, we helped hundreds and hundreds of businesses navigate the PPP and then navigate getting the EIDL loan and then the California grant because they didn't know what to do. And it was so frustrating. And we had contacts directly with the SBA that we could call them. We could, if clients were having an issue, we had a really good chance of solving it for them. So it's just a tremendous organization, and it's funded every year by the government, and it's really going for good causes for people, and it's kept many in business. It's kept.
I can tell you right now, I will be calling on Monday.
Yeah.
I mean, I say that solely because, and I asked a question about the funding is because I have been bootstrapping this podcast myself for we have one sponsor, which is amazing, which does help, but it's like the payroll I've been carrying
Yeah,
for this is like, mama needs some help.
yeah. No, don't hesitate. I would do that. If you have any question, you can call us. We can help you with it, get there. But I'm sure LA County there's no question to have one.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, okay, we're gonna start talking about open to
Okay.
buy.
All right.
And like I just said, I have this conversation literally with, like, I just like consulted somebody up in Pismo Beach yesterday. And the first thing I do is when we talk about it's like, okay, do you have reports? Do you run a reporting system? Just that even simple thing. I do, but I don't really, go through the reports. I'm like, okay, so while we're on the phone, we're gonna do a little bit of a deep dive. Do you have your categories by department so we can at least see what's driving your business departmentally? And then you're gonna have some homework to drill down a little bit more. Forget the open to buy. Like I said, I think I have two people, but the simplest thing for reports, please talk to me and everyone a little bit about how reporting and open to buy work together. And then we're going to talk about the importance of open to buy, period.
Yeah. So most of the POS systems they have now are fabulous. They're great at providing information, but how much total inventory you have at a specific time, managing your SKUs, but it doesn't give you any type of a platform or a template to look over a 12-month period, know what your project your sales are going to be, and decide how much you have each month to buy based on your turns and your cost of goods sold. We'll get a little bit later. So the reports that they have feed into the open to buy because there's a form that I developed that'll tell you what your base inventory is going to be, but it's dependent on the information you get from these reports, right? So the information has to be accurate from POS system. And then once you have the information, it puts it into the sheet and it calculates everything for you. So the reports give you the information of how much you may have in a particular SKU, how many dollars you have in a particular SKU, how much inventory you have in total, but it doesn't give you any roadmap on how much to buy. And that's one thing I found out when I first started this. This has been a 7-year journey developing this, and it was because there was a need for people to know. And every time I went into a retailer when I worked with them, they all did the same thing. They said, I'm making money, I'm showing a profit on my P&L, but I don't have any money. And we figured out it's always in the inventory because you carry too much inventory. And if you carry too much inventory or too little inventory, you get the same result. Your cash goes down, so does your profitability. Right? So you either have too much tied up or you don't have enough, so you're not generating your sales that you're projecting to do. So so one feeds into the other, but they're not the same thing by any stretch of the imagination.
One thing we do run into a lot is a lot of retailers say, "Oh, I have an open to buy. Shopify has one or QuickBooks has one," but no, they don't. It's not even close. They provide awesome stats and analytics and data that you can plug into.
If you plug into it.
So in layman's terms, please say what open to buy means, because that's the other question I get all the time is like, what does that even mean?
Okay, so real simply, an open to buy is a inventory purchasing plan over a 12-month period based on what your forecasted sales and cost of goods will be and your turns per year to let you know each month how much you have to buy each subsequent month and for the entire year. And then as you manage your categories and you put in your purchases from your vendors, it automatically deducts it. And you see that number that you're allowed to buy go down. If it gets to a negative, you've bought too much. And that's when you start having cash problems. So it's an inventory system that's designed to manage your cash purchases of inventory to make sure you're within the range you need to be in order to be successful.
It's funny, I have more accounts I think that are underbought until this one account I went to that I was like wow, you have a lot of backstock. And there are some people that believe in, because shipping costs are killing people. So one reasoning I got was, well, we don't want so many shipments, so we ordered as much as we can so we can have it in back stock. So, well, unfortunately, guess what happened? People stopped buying that stupid candle. And now, I mean, when I say we have hundreds, there are hundreds. So the balance of inventory when you have too much, please talk about, because we talked about this off camera, turns. And I just had this conversation with one of my customers to say you have to see turns in your inventory, because I've talked to people where it's like, how long this isn't selling. It's like, okay, well, how long have you had it? Because there is a way of finessing your inventory where you re-merchandise it, and it will sell at a certain point. But after a while, if it's not, it's moved around, a dud is a dud. So, and I trying to explain people, you need your inventory to be turning kind of like a restaurant table. Like
Yep.
you, so talk to people a little bit about levels of inventory and what turns mean.
Yeah. So turns means how many times at cost your inventory turns over a year's period of time. And if you want to go back and figure out, say, and you took any 12-month period. So you could take from starting tomorrow for September back 12 months. And how you figure out what your turns are is, if you look on your POS system, you know what your cost of goods sold will be for that 12-month period. It's the average inventory divided into the cost of goods sold will tell you how many times your inventory turned. So over a 12-month period, if you took the inventory on every single month for those 12 months on the first of the month, add them together, divide by 12, divide it into your cost of goods sold, you'll find out how many times your inventory is turned.
Ah, that's brilliant.
If you take six, you take 6 data points, you divide by 6. So however you use, and the more you use, the more accurate it's going to be. Obviously, if you take 2, it's not going to be accurate.
Yeah.
If you take 12, it's going to be really accurate. So you decide how many you want to take. And so I remember when I was a young retailer, I was like 29 years old, I opened a store in the Capitola Mall. And this guy named Jackson was John Jackson, had a shoe store, been in town forever, and he was like the guy. And he kept coming by my store, and I kept putting these same things out on that sales day. He had these sales days. He finally comes on and he says, Larry, how long have you had these? I said, I don't know, about 6 months. He says, you need to turn, if you don't turn something in 90 days, you get rid of it.
Thank you.
It's
Okay.
not, yeah, not
Okay.
90 days. If you just get your money out of it, just get rid of it, because, and of course, being at that time, not real sophisticated, I said, but Don, it's good if I do that, I'm lowering the price. And he says, Larry, you get your money out of it, then you buy another product that you can get full margin on.
Thank you. Okay.
And I go, yeah, that makes sense. So that influenced me since I was 29 years old. And so I tell people that my clients that if you have something that's not sold, put it on sale and get it out.
What is your window of time of sale? Because everyone has different timelines of when you figure like, okay, I mean, I pretty much can tell when a dog's a dog, but what is your timeline as far as numbers wise go for when?
Well, I think if there's a 90-day period. So if you haven't sold a significant amount in 90 days, it's a dog. Actually, if you haven't sold half of it in 90 days, just 75% of it, you're probably not going to, you don't want it. So then I had a meeting yesterday with the client we're working for 6 years against before they opened a store. And then they've already moved. They have a nicer, bigger store now, and they're doubled their sales. Everything's great, but they're still carrying some inventory they've had in the back room since they started.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And they go, what do we do with it? So we try to sell it. He said, it's funny, people won't buy it for sale, but they'll buy it at retail. But it's been around so long now they won't buy it. So then just donate and get it out of there, because what happens from when we're talking about base inventory, your turns and your base inventory is going to be dependent on your inventory that you have, your beginning inventory. I'll get into the sheet and show you. But the more bad inventory you have, the less good inventory you're going to have to sell.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank
because
you.
you're piling it on top. So if you get rid of $20,000 in bad inventory, you're open to buy for $20,000 in good inventory. But if you keep that and buy the $20,000, now you got a little bit of a cash problem, and your inventory is going to turn less, because now instead of having 160, you have 180.
I mean, because there's people that literally will hold, and I don't understand. It's like, are you emotionally connected to this? Like, why can you not just let it go? And then it's like the conversation starts of like, my background's out of Fred Siegel, and I don't know if you know Fred Siegel.
Yes.
So Fred, his philosophy was one sale once a year. It doesn't work in this day and age, but back in the day, Fred was like, one time a year, we have a sale. We start at 50% off and then it goes to 75 at 2 weeks. And then we run it for another week and then it's out. So my philosophy is always 50%, just get it out, like move it. And then there's people that like, well, we'll start it at 20% and then we'll do another 10%. I'm like, oh my God, rip the Band-Aid off, just get it out. So what is your philosophy on how much to knock it down to? And you better be listening to people. I'm telling you right now.
100% what you said. Get your money out of it and go, because you start trying to get it down and you're going to end up with a lot of it anyway. And I say, you know what, if you give it 10 or 20% off, that's not enough. Then people are going to go, I'm not interested.
Right.
I don't want to buy it. And then you put it back in and you try to put, and I had this conversation yesterday with the toy store, is that, I think a way to really learn is look at the people that are really successful. And I think Nordstrom is one of the best retailers in the world, in terms of what they purchase, their ambiance, everything.
Service.
And they have 2 sales a year, summer after Christmas.
Thank
That's
you.
it.
They
And
don't
then
have
move out
the
of there.
revolving. I have a store right
And then
now.
I tell people, Michelle, have you ever heard of Nordstrom's rack? They go, yeah. I said, that's their mistakes. So don't worry if you made a mistake. Nordstrom's got a 20,000 foot store in every city with called Nordstrom Rack for their mistakes. So don't worry about it.
I mean, it's like there's Anthropology has a sale room they've built. So it's basically the Nordstrom Rack. It's in their store.
Yeah.
So, and there's people that like, what do I do? Kingfisher Road, who we had on the very beginning of this podcast. She is the one person that I know uses a open to buy person. And it is like legit, like what Dan says, they go by the rule. They do not mess around. Dan's word is Dan's word.
Yeah.
So they opened a whole second store called Kingfisher Annex, and it's all their sale, because same thing. It's like, okay, this didn't sell in 90 days, push it into and it does phenomenal. They do the same Instagrams with it. They do like, they treat it exactly same way, only it's 50% off or whatever they do. But it's trying to tell people about the sale and having a sale. Like I have a store and I'm going to name them now because they're going to be on the podcast, but Rock Paradise we introduced a sale area, and it was so we can get rid of some of the stuff we had somewhere hiding. And now the owner, Jason, God love him, likes it so much that now he's like bringing in special things for it. And I keep telling him that thing is leaving. And when we set up Christmas, that is leaving, because that's taking away sales from regular price merchandise that's too crowded on the floor that people can't see because it's so packed. And he is hanging onto that sale rack so hard. He does not want to get rid of it.
So I talk to people all the time. I say, what is your number one asset in the business? And I said, you should come to your mind immediately. And they're hemming and hawing and going, what can you not do without? They said, well, customers. They're going, no, you can do without customers. What can you do without? Cash. And when cash is sitting on a rack, it's not helping you buy something. It's going to generate more cash. And I get teased a lot because I tell people when I come in to business, when I look at a business, everything to me is a number. There's merchandise, there are people, to me, it's all a number. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but it's going to turn into a sale. It's turned into an expense. It's a cost of something. It's going on your financial statement. And that's what you look at as your scorecard. So you have to look at everything in there. It has a dollar sign on it. And when they finally, they get past the fact that I'm not being rude, they go, I think you might be right. I go, well, when you run out of cash, you're out of business. You look at Silicon Valley, how many companies had no customers or no product, but they exist today because they had cash. They had people invest in it, and then they become successful. Sooner or later, you have to have customers. Yeah. But cash, when you're out of cash, when you're out of money, you're out of business. Period.
Well, Dion had said this. The open to buy guy was, for the people that have too much inventory and don't want to let it go. He's like, look, you're paying, when you do inventory, you are paying taxes on all of that crap. It's like, get rid of it, because it's sitting inventory that is only going to be adding to what you owe in taxes. And I think that a lot of people were like, oh, I didn't even think about that. I'm not even going to go down the road of how many people don't do inventory, but for those that do, all this sitting merchandise is what is actually going to give you a bigger tax bill at the end of the year.
And what he's referring to is that the formula for cost of goods sold is beginning inventory plus purchases less ending inventory. And your ending inventory is directly relatable to your gross margin. As your inventory goes up, your gross margin goes up. But as he's talking about, if you get rid of this, your inventory goes down. It means your margin goes down, so you have less income that you can pay taxes on, right? But people don't see it that way.
No.
Well, they don't. And you asked a little earlier, why are people reluctant? They think that they're losing money by putting something on sale, when in essence, just as your client said, you're losing money by keeping it because you don't have money to buy something else.
Yeah.
That's going to get full margin.
And we walked into some crazy scenarios where it's like 80,000, 100,000 worth of inventory just sitting, maybe even in a back room, so public can't even see it. It's terrible. It's scary. They go out of business because of it.
So I'll tell you a story, a real quick story in this. I had a client I saw in downtown, and I figured out through all the calculations he needed about $80,000 in inventory for what he was turning and the whole thing. And like he said, well, that's about what I have. I go, well, let's take an inventory and find out. And he said, no, I'm fine. He said, no. I said, I want to look at what your categories are as well. So long story short, he reluctantly did an inventory. He had $157,000 in inventory he didn't know about. He had stuff in 2 different storage units. He had 31 different categories of products. 8 of them were producing 88% of his sales. The other 23 were producing 12%, and the inventory was almost 50-50. And he couldn't figure out why he had money. So he had 50% of his inventory was trying to support 88% of his sales, and he was missing sales because he couldn't afford to buy it. And then he had 50% of inventory representing 12% of his sales, and they're just sitting there. And he couldn't understand why he was out of money.
I think some people also think, well, if I put it all on sale, it means the store is going to be empty and I don't have any money. They're not even thinking about the sell-through money. They're just thinking, if I take it off the floor, my floor is going to be empty and I don't have anything to replace it with.
Well, if that's the case, if they have that much bad inventory, they probably don't belong in business anyway. If they bought stuff that hasn't sold for 6 months, they're in the wrong business, so they're buying the wrong things. I mean, normally when you put something on sale, maybe 5% of your inventory, 10% of your inventory, which would be a lot. That's it. It's not going to be 40 or 50 or 60%. And you should have other stuff coming in. So this is all about financial management. It's all about financial management and having these tools. I have my people do, I work with them to do a yearly cash flow every year. I do a projected cash flow and P&L. And we look at where they are and are there any issues? And we find out now, so we'd be proactive 2 or 3 months ahead of time instead of finding out when we get there. Well, the open to buy is a huge part of that, because if you think about it, every retail store spends anywhere from 60 to 70, 75% of every dollar they get on inventory. And I've told that to people, and they go, "Oh, Larry, don't mean to correct you, but I don't think you're right." I go, "Okay, hang on. If a company does $1 million and they have a 50% cost of goods, how much did they sell to generate that?" They go, $500,000. Great. If they have $125,000 inventory on the floor, what did they spend? Add those together, $625,000. You generate $1 million. If you overbuy and you've got, say, 700 or 750, now you can't pay your bills, and you wonder why you don't have any cash at the end of it. So all these things tie together. I mean, it's a puzzle. They're not mutually exclusive. They're a puzzle. Yeah. And open to buy is a huge, huge part of that. And when businesses don't have that, they're really operating in the dark. I mean, they really are just hoping it works out okay.
Yeah, well, I think they're making emotional choices. I think that's a lot of it too, is that it's either ego or emotion. Like I said, like, what is your tie to this? Like, why don't you just put it on sale and get it off the floor?
Yeah, and these are really good people, well-meaning people. They're not doing anything wrong. It's just that many people, as you know, Michelle, open a business because I like to run, so open up a running store, or I like clothes, open up a woman's store.
Yeah.
They didn't have a business experience. Well, that's where the SBDC comes in, or you have people to help you. It's okay to do that. But generally, when someone opens a store, they have something they're good at. They're either good at sales, maybe they're good at marketing, but they're not good at everything. And the one area it seems like people have the most difficulty with is the finance area. They're afraid of numbers. I don't understand them. They get their financial statement. They just look at the bottom and get throw it away, but they don't do any analysis of what's my current ratio or what's my cash turnover. Or they don't know that stuff, and they get in trouble. And then they just keep throwing money at it. Pretty soon, either got bank loans, or they put their own money in it, and then they're deeper because they're afraid to look at it. And so that's why I kind of geared my consulting to the finance piece, because that seemed to be the biggest gap that people had. And I have an expertise in that. And so with inventory, I've been studying inventory for 10 years. It's become a fascination of mine because of what's happened to people. And the whole cash thing is big because I experienced it when I had my 4 stores. I had cash issues. I had, Nike 30 grand, rent was coming. I had 12 in the bank. So what do? Well, I just penciled out on paper and I made it work over a period of time, made calls, moved things around, but I planned it. I just did it with a little calculator and column paper. We didn't have stuff. We didn't have Excel back in my day.
Yeah, I wish I had that.
So we're just trying to help people. That's all we're trying.
I
I would
wish
call them the cash flow king.
I wish I had that when I had my stores. I probably wouldn't have gone through bankruptcy.
That's all right.
I think about how overbought I was, and it's like, oh my God, because I was buying on 100% emotion and
Yeah.
100% ego. It was like, I'm Fred C. I have stores at Fred C. Like it was out of control. So
Yeah.
you guys get together, you decide to create this app. How long did it take to create the app? And then we're going to get into how easy it is. Because what I love is that for the people that can't, because I don't know I'll admit, I have no idea what open to buy. If you hire an open to buy person, I don't know
Yeah.
what the cost is. It's obviously somebody's specialty. So I'm sure it's a cost that people worry about. I love this because it's an app and it's like $50 a month or something. And you can control your inventory and actually have an idea of where to put your money going forward.
So in terms of cost of doing it with opentobuy.co, it costs $0. You can call me on the phone. You can send me an email. I'll answer right away. I'll get back to you. You have a question, but we've made this so simple. I actually filled it out the other day. It took me 2.5 minutes to put all the information in. That was it. And it calculated everything for me. So it's very
Wow.
simple. We have instructions with it. You can drop down. And if somebody gets stuck, they have a question, and if they're around here, I'll go see them. I get in my car and go see them. If somebody's
Wow,
on,
that's
call me on the
amazing.
phone. We're here to help people. We're not trying to get more money out of them. We're not trying to, get a consulting gig or anything. We're just trying to help people.
But
Uh,
you both do consulting though. I mean, like Bryce and the
yeah,
marketing. I mean, one thing I will say this. I love when you said you combine old school and new school
yeah,
marketing. Because I think right now the world is like, good Lord, the world of TikTok and Instagram. It's like, and there's
yeah,
I think a lot of like I think, and I'm gonna digress a little bit, but I think that what the pandemic taught a giant amount of retailers is that how unprepared and how unwilling they are to step out of their comfort zone and go
yeah,
live, and all the things that you had to do. I think that was the universe's way of kind of clearing house, so to
yeah,
speak. That's why a lot of retailers went out of business, because it was, they didn't have somebody young doing the social media. Oh, we've done it like this the whole time, like we don't change what we don't,
yeah,
it's not broken. And it's like, guess what, the whole system broke, and all of a sudden it was like, I mentioned the girls from Kingfisher. They had their moment of like, oh dear, what do we do? And then it was like, it's a mother-daughter team and they were going live, and it was like, it was phenomenal to see. And so many people did that. And now that's a whole new way of how people are doing business, is going
yeah,
live and whatnot. I mean, that's what I feel like
yeah.
in the marketing, the old school people, I feel like need someone like you that balances both.
A lot of my clients they're seasoned, and they now are at the age where they have the new generation in their industry, whatever that might be, entering, and they can do a e-commerce site over the course of a weekend. They can do social media. They can whip out videos like that, and they're now having to compete with them. So a lot of my clients, I'm helping compete with the young bucks that are
Yeah.
entering their competitive zone.
Are they open-minded to it, or are they afraid, or are they like, talk to me a little bit? I mean, this is totally like off subject, but like I'm fascinated, because it's like, I love the ones that are open-minded, and it's like, okay. I mean, because I'm 56, and it's like, I will go live, and it's like, I started this podcast. I still have no idea what I'm doing, but I can talk. And so I took a risk and I jumped, and I I created this and it's, I mean, go figure. We are almost at 10,000 downloads. We have a huge retailer. I mean, legit retailers listening to us and DMing us about, but I know I am open-minded in the sense of like, I understand I have to do different things to stay relevant.
Mhm. Yeah, the clients that are like experimenting, they're open to doing video. There's always a way to like do video, even if you don't want to be on camera or be the face of the company or your brand. There's always different ways. Social media is changing by the week or by the day, so there's always new elements that come out that allow you to expose your business to your target customers. Target customers is a whole nother podcast episode, but
Yeah.
most of the businesses and retailers I talk to, if you were to ask them who their target customers are, they don't quite know.
Yeah, I think that is a whole other
And
conversation.
if you go to Bryce Root's website, rootmarketing.com.
We
Yeah.
will have all the links in the show
Yeah.
notes so people can look both of you guys up because I'm sure you're going to have people calling you.
Yeah, but he started the video craze around here and in Northern California. And
Ah,
it's been phenomenal what he's done in terms of, and it's just been to help people, just disseminating information. They know what's going on, bringing a client on and doing a special on them on what they're doing. Go to Monterey and go to 3 or 4 clients and go talk to them. Talk about issues that have come up during the pandemic, and they're all on. And he just did an unbelievable job. He'd get
Yeah.
thousands and thousands and thousands of people following him.
wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, but I mean,
Actually, Larry and I, part of what we were doing at OpenToBuy.co is we go out and help rescue
Yeah,
or help
yeah,
scale a business
yeah.
as part of our content process. Like we went to Carmel maybe a month and a half ago. We
Yeah.
helped 2 different business owners scale their retail operation.
Yeah.
So are you doing this on YouTube? I mean, where are you putting this out? Because now I know people are going to want to watch this.
I'd say for the most part, Instagram. Like
Okay.
I've been doing the Bryce Root Small Biz Doc is where I post most of my stuff. And OpenToBuy.co is our handle for Instagram for OpenToBuy.
Okay, good. So I'm sure people are like, will want to look these up and, see some of these. So tell me a little bit, let's talk about the app and let's talk about how easy it is and
Yeah.
what it's going to do and help our retailers with.
Right. So the app it's kind of been a 7-year journey, and it came out of a need for clients that I was dealing with that had nothing like your experience, had nothing to use, and they had cash problems. So first I tried to find something instead of reinventing the wheel. I tried to find something online I could point them towards. I couldn't find anything. So I just came up with a blank spreadsheet, and over this period of time, just started developing what I thought needed to work. I knew what Open to Buy was, but I couldn't find a sample of one anywhere that anyone had. So I just said I knew what the concept was supposed to be. So I just started developing this spreadsheet and adding things to it and testing it, and then changing some things, and then finally got it where I wanted it. And that's when they said, Larry, you've got to get this out. You've got to get this out someplace because you can help so many people. And that's when I got a hold of Bryce. It's because we both, as I said before, we both all want to do is help small businesses. And I said, what do you think about doing something like this? We can make it into an app. And he said, let's do it because we can really help a lot of people. So that's how it came about.
I mean, do you
And
both
so,
know coding? How do you take it from the spreadsheet to an app?
yeah, so we went through a couple of different people to try to find the person we needed, and we finally found him. So this has been like a year putting it together,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, when the retailers see it in action, they're like eyes light up. You're
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh.
But the one in behind it to try to get it done it was frustrating. It was amazing. It was, because coders are different people and they're different. They're like these great minds,
Yeah.
but it's hard to get it focused. And anyway, we got it done, and we have just a terrific guy now right now that has done it, and so we're ready to launch it. And this will be like our official launches with you. We really appreciate the opportunity to present it because we wanted to test it first. We gave it to people.
Botanic and Lux.
Botanic and Lux using it. I've got I probably 7 or 8 of the most iconic stores in Santa Cruz.
I love because this whole podcast, I mean, originally it was started because I was going live on Instagram talking to retailers about what they were going through, and it
Yeah.
gave like during the pandemic gave people a place to like vent, and then I got it all, we went back to life and I forgot about it, and then I realized I'm going to start this, and it started out just like it was intended stories and lessons for of a life in retail and just talking to retailers, and then more and more I started hearing the word education thrown around for like your podcast is really educational. The people you're talking to are like the retailers that are talking about their stories are helping other retailers. And so now as I'm going along, it's like I'm really trying to find people that retailers don't have access to, that's only going to make retailers stronger, because honestly, like I'm all about the small business, and I'm all about like neighborhood shopping and like I just, big box is fine, but I come from small retailers, so something like this, like I know when you guys commented, I'd like that, I jumped on right away and was like, I'd love to have you guys on, because I just think that retailers need something like this, and if it's easy and it's accessible and it's not scary, then they'll do it.
Yeah, we try to take all the mystery out of it, take the stress out of it. And the thing I tell all my clients that I'm with is, I want to teach you how to do this because I don't want you dependent on me, because someday I'm not going to be here. I may move, who knows what happened. I plan on being here, but someday I'm not going to be here. And I don't want them to suffer because I'm not here on how to do this. So I want to teach them how to do it and take them through this and make this as easy as it possibly can be. And I think that's what we've done, because we've just tried to take all the stress out of it. It's real time. So whenever you put something in, it recalculates immediately to show you where you are, and you can move things around. So I can, if you want, I can go in and kind of show the sheet.
Let me
Share your screen if you can.
Yeah, let me, there you go. You should be able to do it now.
All right. So this is.
This is where I get freaked out.
I'm going to move you over.
Spreadsheets.
Okay. All right. So what I did initially, so this is the sheet. It's a spreadsheet, and what it's designed to do is for you to forecast the next 12 months of your business, know what your projected cost of goods sold is going to be, which you get from your financial statement. You have historical data, and then I'll show you the categories. So I did the categories. So the first thing you do, you just want to put in first thing you do, you pick what month you want to do.
Let me say something really quick for everyone listening in their cars. My suggestion is that you guys go and watch this on YouTube, because we have a screen share. So we're actually able to see what the app looks like and the information you're putting in. I just had to put that in there. So, because people driving in their cars are going to be like, what?
All right. Okay. So, well, first here's a whole list of instructions to take you through everything.
Yeah, step by step.
Step by step. Column A, cell 125. It tells you exactly what to do. It explains things to you.
Yeah.
Exactly what. So there's no, and plus we have videos on the website, opentobuy.co. We have videos that takes you this. The first thing you do is decide, what month do I want to do it in? So we're just doing one for January. You could, if I change it to March, everything changes across here as well as down below. It's all automatic. Okay, so we'll do from there. So we're going to do January. So I did as an example, I did a men's store. And so we're looking at revenues of $1 million. And if my gross margin, my cost of goods sold to be 50%, I type in 50. Automatically calculate your cost of goods sold. So what this says is, I'm going to sell $500,000 in merchandise to generate $1 million in sales. So one of the things that I added after is, you have the ability at the end of every month to put in actual sales and actual cost of goods from POS system. It will recalculate what your cost of goods sold is going to be and tell you if you're over or under how much inventory you thought you're going to sell.
And I'm guessing you put in what your markup is, 2.5, 3.0, 5.0.
Okay. First of all, I'm not a markup person, because markup is not a financial term. It's margin.
Margin.
I'm saying is that people's like, okay, I market, I bought it for $10, I market 2.5 times. I go, great, that's $25. What is the cost of goods sold? 10 over 25 is 40%, 40%,
Okay.
right? So I'm not pushing back saying that's not right. But when
Yeah.
you do that, to take that calculation, figure out what is my margin, what's my cost of goods sold.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Is okay, good. So the first thing we do is this. Now I'm going to scroll down here to show you. So the first thing is you put in your sales. And the next thing is you just put in your cost of goods sold percentage and everything calculates automatically for you. So that part of it's done. You go down.
These are all the categories.
These are all the categories, but I'm going down the bottom first. Now you have two more things. You put in what your annual turns are going to be. If I use 4 as my annual turns, it says my base inventory has to be $125,000. Right? So that says I have to maintain $125,000 turning 4 times a year to generate $1 million in sales.
Oh.
If my beginning inventory, so right now it says my open to buy is $150,000. It says I have no inventory, right?
Yeah.
My inventory on January 1st is $125,000. Recalculates everything for you. So now for 2023, you've already put out, this is what my open to buy is going to be. So the open to buy is the first month. This is for the first 2 months, first 3 months, all the way for the year. So it's already done. You've just put out your open to buy, and it took you a minute and a half, maybe a minute to do it.
Well, I think the challenge will be the people that don't do inventory are actually going to have to do inventory to get those numbers.
Well, they should, if they have a POS system, it should be on a POS system. You should always do your inventory. I was taught to do it once a quarter. I know people kick and screams. So I say, if you can do it twice a year and then adjust your inventory, I guess the people that don't kick and scream so much but still complain, I go, then you have to do it at the end of every year. You have to start January 1st, knowing what your inventory is.
Yeah.
Because you have to make adjustments, because really on your POS system and what you actually have in stock, I'll guarantee it will be 2 different numbers, because unfortunately stuff may have been stolen. People may have taken things out of stock to wear and not accounted for.
Yep.
And if you look at your POS system, you have a minus in the SKU. That doesn't make any sense how you have minus inventory. So, but all these numbers you can get right out of your POS system. Like Botanic and Lex and some of the people I work with, they have a history of what their sales are, so they know about what their growth is going to be every January, every March, every April, what their Christmas is going to be like. And then they go in. Well, so that's step one. Step one is just putting that in. Now, one thing I added was we had the overall number for how much you needed to spend for the year. But if you don't put it in the right spots, it's not going to make any sense.
Yep.
If you don't buy the right products in the right categories, it's not going to make sense. So your POS system will be able to tell you what your category percentage of sale or what your sales are, and it should tell you the percentage. If it doesn't, just divide your category percentage by the total number of sales. It'll tell you what your percentage is, right? And so if this is a men's store, I said that 25% of my sales are going to come from shirts. So if I look over here, my open to buy is $125,000, and every time I put a vendor in there, I start with $125,000 remaining. It'll go down by whatever I put in there.
I love that.
So you can track every month how much you spend in shirts, and you can track how much you spend with every vendor for the whole year. It tells exactly what you have to spend and what you've already spent.
This is where, like Botanic and Lux, they'll go to a trade show. And
Yes.
they're buying. And so they'll be in their hotel room and basically go through every night and say, okay, we only have 10,000 left in this category, 25 in this category. They're just very strategic in how they're spending money, versus we see a lot of our clients when we initially see them, and they're just saying, oh, that looks really nice, but we should do that.
Yes. I think a lot of people, just on the sense of having an idea of what you are going to buy and what you have to spend, and especially departmentally, I think it cuts out a lot of the, oh, look, shiny, where, it's like, Again, like I think a lot of it is some emotion. Like I love this so much, I want to buy it. And I do know one store I talked to, and I love her for being so honest. But she worked with Margot, the other open to buy person we had on, and she said, she gave me your information and I love her and I still like work with her from time to time. But to be honest, I stopped having her do my open to buy because she took all the joy out of it. She goes, things I liked, I wanted to buy. She was telling me, don't buy and you need to buy more of this. And she's like, and I didn't want to buy more of that.
Yeah,
But I think knowing, they always say knowledge is power, and knowing what you are there to buy gives you direction and
right.
stops you, wandering down paths of like, oh, because I do the shows. I know what it's like. It's like there's a million things to be shiny, and then you have reps on top of that are going, this is the top selling thing, and you should be doing this. And you may not even sell that department, and suddenly you're writing orders for it. I think this cuts all that out, which I
Well,
love.
and when you go to a show, you write orders for maybe the next 6 months. So for the holidays, you probably started doing your shopping March, April, May, ordering to get it in October, November. You don't get much into December, if anything, because you better get in before that. You won't sell it, right?
Thank you.
So a lot of things when I looked online, looked at these things, they would do open to buy for 1 month.
Yeah.
Well, what good is that going to do if you need to buy 6 months out? So that's why this is a year. This is a year. So if I go in and I say this is a vendor, okay, and I'm going to spend $2,000, it automatically says I've spent $2,000 in February. I know that's coming in from this vendor, and it's going to track how much I spend for the vendor,
Oh,
and
it's
it's going to deduct it down below. And if I do another $1,000 here, now remember down below, initially had $25,000 was our open to buy, correct?
Yep.
Okay. This now tells me I spent a total of all my categories, $1,000 so far in January and February. Now I now have $24,000 left loan to buy for January and 57 here. So let's subtract, and this one subtracts $3,000 because it takes whatever it's spent January plus February. So now let's just, as an example, pretend that I'm going up and down the categories and I spent $27,000. Okay, I'm just gonna put 27 here just to get the final number.
You're fired. You just overspent.
Yeah. So what's this tell? And just, I bought it for shirts and pants and shoes and whatever, but it totaled $27,000. And now told you you're over by $3,000. It
Yeah.
automatically deducted it from the next month.
I was gonna say, I love that. It's like, okay, yes, you overspent, and no, you don't get it next month. We've already taken it off.
No, exactly. And so that's the beauty of this. It's in real time. It calculates it right away. So your categories that have to add up to 100%. Right? Because and generally we have spots for 9 categories, and the 9th one is always miscellaneous. Because in whatever I do with my clients, 6 to 8 categories generated 80 to 85 to 90% of their total sales. So that's what you need to follow. You don't need to worry about the ones that are 1 and 2 and 3%. You put them in miscellaneous, or you just take your top 8 categories, because that's what's driving your business.
Yeah.
And that's where you have to make sure you have the money. So this does everything for you. It does it all for you. So let's say that we just finished the month in January, we're done. And sorry for this rapid. We can go back up and say, okay, we actually did $60,000, but I had to spend $40,000 in merchandise because I had a sale, closeout sale. This is going to tell me that right now, for 1 month of actual and 11 months now forecast, and my cost of goods sold is actually 51%, not 50%. And I've spent $10,000 more than I needed. So that $10,000 now is going to be added back in your open to buy, because you need to get your inventory where it's going to be 125. So you've added back in there. Remember, we talked about a sale. If you sell stuff at cost, right, you get your money out of it. You have to replace an inventory, be able to turn it to get to hit your number. So this does it automatically for you.
This is
right. So this does everything. So you just put this in religiously. We have people that when they take them to shows, they go back to their hotel room, they take all their orders out, they input it. If they don't like what they see, if they find that they're negative someplace, they'll go back to them and say, I need to split this order up in 2 months. Because,
Yes, thank
because,
you.
because if you go negative, the chances are really good you're going to have a cash flow problem unless you have just tons of cash sitting around. If you start going, I think I told you before, there was a story I just talked to recently that they've had to bring in their Christmas goods in April, May, June, July, and they have about $160,000 excess inventory, not total, excess inventory. They have a huge cash problem. We were able to get a line of credit, take care of it, pay things down. But when they get through this fourth quarter, everything's going to go away because they're going to have a great Christmas, which they always do. They'll pay down their vendors, pay off any credit cards, and have a load of cash in the bank. But you have to make sure, that's why this is part of a financial plan, is having a banking relationship, knowing your cash flow, doing your forecasting. So when you get something like this, you can take care of it and you know how to do it.
That's what I was just going to ask you, because I think a lot of people, obviously, with the supply chain, is that a lot of people are taking their Christmas goods early just to guarantee they have them.
Yep.
And that does propose a thing. It's like, okay, I had net 30 or I had net 60, but it's due now and I have to pay for it. So, and a lot of people are like reluctant. I don't want to take a loan out. I don't want. So this is just a credit increase or a boost of cash that gets those bills paid. So when you sell this merchandise in December, that you're flush, correct?
Yeah. And so this is a little off topic, but just to address what you said, because you're absolutely right, it's prevalent. People think debt is bad. Debt is not bad. It's what you do with debt that's bad. If you use it for the wrong things, it's bad. If you need to get $100,000 loan at 6%, and you have it for 3 months, but it's going to increase your sales and your profitability is going to be much more than the interest you're going to pay, then you pay the loan off when you have the money. Otherwise, what happens if you don't get in there for the holidays, if you're projecting to do $300,000, maybe you do two. So if I said to you, okay, the other $100,000 was $50,000 in gross margin, and your loan would have been $3,000 for that period of time. If you have a 6%, you had it for a quarter, would you have taken it or not? Well, of course. Well, that's what we're telling you. Loan's not bad. Loan is not bad. It's what you do. And generally in this situation, you don't want a term loan. You want a line of credit because you have much more control of a line of credit. And a line of credit is just a promise from the bank that we're giving you a line of credit for $100,000. They're just promising you if you need $100,000, you come and get it from us. But if you only need 20, you're only going to get charged interest on $20,000, not 100. And there may be an annual fee of a couple $100. I tell people, all my people, I don't care if you use a line of credit or not, you need to get it because when you need money, the bank won't give it to you. They kind of smell it when they come in the door. They say, they need money, we're not giving it to them. They give you money when you don't need it. So get a line of credit right now, just have it sit there. And I've had everyone come back and say, thank you, because I needed it and I didn't know I would need it.
That's great advice. And I know it's totally off topic, but that's the beautiful thing about this conversation is that like the takeaways. So talk to me about how you said this has launched now, or it's just about to launch.
Well, we have people in Santa Cruz using it, and we were using your podcast as kind of our initial launch and foray. So we're launching it. We're launching it now. So you will forever be the person that launched it first.
Oh, that's great. I love it. This episode, I believe is going to be, I think, December or January. So that people are using it for the new year, going into a brand new set.
Yeah. Perfect.
I figured the tool that all of us are going to need for going into the new year, because to introduce it to people now, I think that, everyone's already out of their mind with holiday, but I think though for January, this is going to be the best tool ever for people.
And we Bryce and I have talked before we even started this company about doing something, and because we both had the same feelings about small businesses. We've been small business owners, we still are, and we have such empathy for them, and we kind of came to the agreement that if we did this, we had to find something that solved a significant problem, and we had to make it affordable. Or if it doesn't solve a problem, what are we doing? And if we solve a problem, it's too expensive, what are we doing?
Yeah.
So we think we solved a significant problem for a small business trying to track your inventory and understanding it, and as easy as it could possibly be. and you have us to call or contact for no charge, talking about this, I'll help you with it.
I love that you're the actual tech support.
Yeah, and it's $50 a month.
That's phenomenal. And where are people going to be finding this? Is it on Apple or?
But if they just go to the website opentobuy.co, that's where it's a web app, so that's where it
Okay.
lives. It's all cloud-based.
And so if you go down and you read, we've got testimonials. It talks about Bryce and myself, talks about open to buy. We got some other things in there, all related to small business. And just if you go down and just click on 14-day free trial. Because one thing we wanted to do, everybody I checked, they would give you a demo, but then they wanted you to buy it right away. And we said, we're not doing that. Let them try it for 14 days for free. Let them try it. Just use it. If you have questions, call me. If you decide you don't want it, then just click delete. Your credit card information is deleted. You don't get charged for it if you don't want it. But you can use it for 2 weeks for
That's
free.
amazing. Like that, I mean, I honestly, like, I'm so glad that you guys came on. I'm so excited for retailers to hear this, because it's like, like I said, like knowledge is power, and understanding where to spend your money that's going to make you money is the big thing. And if people can do this and go buy it like it's the Bible, like, if your open to buy specialist tells you to buy this, like, people use it, that information is like, that's the Bible compared to, for the people that have open to buy specialists. This is like the best thing ever, and it's cost effective and easy.
Yeah. Well, I've told every one of my clients when we first started and stuff, I said, I will make you this guarantee. If you use this open to buy and you manage your inventory, your cash will increase and so will your profitability. It can't do anything else, because you're not going to overbuy, you're not going to underbuy, you're going to get rid of bad merchandise. It's just going to keep turning, and you turn it. So if I can do something for your listeners, if I want to go down here, just to make an example, where I have why the turns are so important. So I have 4 turns here. You should be able to turn your inventory between 3 and 4 times a year. 3 is at the minimum, 4 is perfect. Now I know Botanic and Lux turns a little bit more, because one of their big categories are plants, and they can pick them up every day on the way to work.
Yeah.
They don't have to wait for 2 weeks, so they have a little more turns. They don't have to have as much inventory on hand, because they can go pick it up if they want it the same day. For most retailers, you have to wait 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and during a pandemic, who knows when you're going to get it, right? So if you're turning your inventory, I think with the sales we put up there is like 515. If you turn your inventory, our cost of goods 4 times, you'd have $128,750 turning 4 times a year to generate your $1 million. If you're turning it twice a year, you have to have $257,000 in inventory. So you have to double your inventory. Would you rather have the money sitting in inventory or in your bank account? And generally, when you carry more inventory, your sales don't go up, because you only have so many people coming into your business. Because generally, if you carry it, you're carrying it deep. I've got 10 of these instead of 5.
So the people that carry denim, this is a big thing for denim stores, because when you buy denim, you have to buy really deep. And most retailers that buy denim, which is why I tell my stores stay away from denim, is the amount of inventory you carry sits. And that's exactly that example you just gave is exactly what happens.
Now there can be, some can be industry specific. So as an example, I have a jewelry store that's a client of mine. And I did some research on a jewelry store. The industry average is about 1.6 turns a year.
Wow.
So you have to carry, and the reason is they have a lot of little expensive things. Diamonds are $15,000 or $20,000 for a little diamond, and ring sets could be $20,000. So if you turn it 4 times a year, you'd have nothing in your store. You wouldn't have anything to fill up, right? So they have to carry more things because they're smaller and more expensive. So their inventory gets higher quicker. And so it could be interesting. There are some, that's the only industry I've found, right, that is like that. There could be other industries, but for the general retail industry, 3 to 4, 3 at the minimum, 4 is perfect. It's every 90 days. Then you can't give a 4.2, 4.3, but when you start doing that, you're going to probably miss some sales because you can't replace it fast enough. And that's why when you put in the percentages for your categories, when I put in 25% here for shirts, I got that from a POS system. My customer, that was information from my customers. That they were telling me that. My POSs said 25% of my sales were shirts.
Yeah.
Why would I want to buy 10% in shirts? I'm going to miss sales. Why would I want to buy 50? I'm going to have it sitting there.
Yep.
And off camera, we talked about early on. I had this client that kind of had this issue, and I worked with her. And over the course of a year, by streamlining her inventory, because I had a theory that if you align your percentage of sales with a percentage in that category on the floor, and you bought that percentage, your sales would increase when you started out. And that's what happened, because as you got more of it, you start selling more, and eventually hits a point of equilibrium, right?
Mm.
So she had things that went up and ended up getting into women's clothing that was getting up to 34. She's now 80 or 85% of women's clothing store. Before she was probably 30%.
Because
Yeah, but she went from a little over $500,000 to about $1 million over a 12-month period, and her margins increased because now she was investing her dollars where they were being purchased, because her clients were telling her what they wanted. And she,
I had to back up for that.
Yeah.
They're telling her what they wanted in the sense of purchases, because what people have is a lot of people come in their store. Why don't you carry this? Why don't you carry that? And they'll run out and buy it right away, and then it doesn't sell. Correct?
remember when I said everything to me is a number, right? So when
Yep.
I'm looking at, so these are customers. If you have 25% of your sales are in shirts, your customers come into your store and says, "I really like your shirts," and I like it 25%. And so you need to invest 25% of your dollars into that, right? Because that's you can buy short sleeve shirts, button down shirts, no button down. Well, I don't care what you buy, long sleeve. But these are, you figure that out. But here's what they're buying from you. And if you need to break that up, you can break it up,
Yeah.
right? And what I tell my clients is every 60 days you should go. If you do every 30 days, that's fine. But every 60 days, if you go into your categories, you may find that this changed. Maybe it's now 28%. Now my open to buy just changed.
That's smart to keep it. I mean, a finger on that as well. I like that does
Yeah.
adjust all the numbers.
And if something went up by 3%, what other else has to happen? Something has to come down by 3%, because your categories can only add up to 100.
Yeah.
So that means you have too much money sitting someplace. But you don't want to buy any more. You just want to be able to sell what you have. So if you have something that's selling that you have for 10%, and your sales are only 7% of your overall, and you keep buying at 10%, you're going to accumulate over a period of time. It's going to sit there.
Yep.
And then at the end of that, you've got all the stuff you got to sell it at. And like we said, just get your money out of it if you can. But in the meantime, you miss sales someplace else because you didn't have enough for full retail. So that's how I mean, this is dynamic. It's real time. You're in charge. You make the adjustments. It'll give you the information. And if something doesn't make sense, you have a question, you call me on the phone or send me an email. I'll get right back to you. Done.
This is amazing. Guys, I really can't thank you enough for coming on and explaining this, because it's like, I feel like I said, when I had the open to buy guys on, and they were a service, and I had so many people saying, I didn't even know what an open to buy was.
Yep.
And then it was like, well, I want to hire somebody, but I can't afford it. Like, this fixes it all, because I can tell you right now already, I'm going to send somebody your way. She has an online business and she's amazing, but it's, she's flying by the seat of their pants. She's a relatively new online shop owner, and she wants help so bad. And it's like, this is exactly what she needs.
Yeah. So I'll tell you a funny story that people I had a meeting with yesterday. We're opening their store, and so I was working with them about a year before they opened the store, and we talked about open to buy right away. And so they went over the hill into Los Gatos to see this very successful store in their category. And within 10 minutes, the lady said, we're working with the SBDC advisor, and he's really helping us and that. And she pointed a finger and says, if he hasn't talked to you about open to buy, you need to get rid of him. He says, that's funny. He's already talked about that. He says, okay, keep him. That's how important it was, because she'd been in business for years, just trying to help these people that had never been in this business before.
That's
It's
well,
critical.
that's amazing that they another retailer out
critical.
there said that.
But
That I mean, thank you guys. I mean, I'm
Well-
so excited for this to air, and I'm so excited for people to find more about this, because this is like this solves the whole problem of, I'm afraid of, you know, that it puts you in control.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it should be really easy. Most people have used a spreadsheet before, and you can't make a mistake because you can't override the formulas. You can't do anything wrong.
Can't break it.
You can't break it. It's impossible to break. There's nothing you can do to break it.
And
It's
then
funny.
Michelle, we have a special promo code. We'll put in the notes for all your listeners.
Oh, that's fantastic. Great. Okay, so guys,
We want to give them 30 days for free instead of 14, so they can try it for 30 days.
that's fantastic. So everyone listening, I'm going to tell everyone a little bit of piece of advice is January is the start of your brand new year. I really really hope that you take advantage of this, because I think this is going to put your foot in the door for a successful year and before you hit the shows. So with that, I am going to sign off. Thank you guys so much for
Thank
being
you, Michelle, very much. Thank
Yeah,
you very
we
much
had
for
a lot
having
of
us on. I
fun.
appreciate it.